What is up, DPad Nation? Welcome here to the very first episode of the DPad Wrestling YouTube channel. I am Matt Fiscioni alongside with my pal Rick freaking Cazares. You guys may recognize him from the DPad Wrestling podcast alongside with Rob, where they cover all things WWE and AEW. Mostly AEW because, fuck WWE. Rick, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. You can see me in my blazer because I'm doing parent-teacher conferences right now. So that's why I'm looking somewhat fancy, but not completely. Yeah, it's good to have you. It's good to do this. I'm glad that you're hosting this and glad we're doing this. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, because I know we've been talking about doing a YouTube channel for so long, and I figured, since you guys talk about, mostly highlights and results, I figured this would be a more, fun kind of thing that you and I can do. So obviously WrestleMania 38 is in the books. Quite an interesting event, I would say the least. So I have to ask you, I know you said in the podcast before, you mostly watch AEW and watch less of WWE. Were you able to catch some of the matches this weekend?
Yeah, so, we talk about in the podcast a lot that we read up on AEW. We read up on WWE all the time. I follow it consistently, and I watch AEW. And it's not that I'm an AEW mark, just WWE's product has been stale for me for the past couple years. And I didn't watch night 1 of Mania. I read about it, and I watched night 2, and God damn, I wish it was the other way around. I really wish I would have watched night 1, because night 2 was not as good.
Yeah, it was quite the interesting weekend, I would say. I agree with you. I wish it was the other way around. And unfortunately, I did not get to cover night 1, but I was able to do coverage for night 2. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's on Instagram. But that being said, we did catch some of the highlights ourselves after night 1. And we're going to be talking about some of our favorite matches from night 1, but also we're going to try and cover some things that we enjoyed on night 2. But before we do that, if you enjoy what you're seeing on here, please like, share, give us a comment down below with some suggestions that you would want to see on other videos, and to smash that subscribe button. It would help us out a lot. In fact, you could freaking Macho Man elbow drop that subscribe and follow button on Instagram. If you guys want to follow us on Instagram too, the link will be in the description box down below. So with that being said, let's get started with night 1. So, Rick, I have to ask you, obviously night 1 was the better night for the entire event this weekend. So were there any matches that stood out to you the most?
Obviously the Cody match. Obviously the Cody match. Cody, when he wants to, can put on bangers. And he put on a banger with Seth, I think it was the right choice for him, his first match, to wrestle Seth, because Seth is fantastic. We all, the worst kept secret in wrestling, we all kind of knew that Cody was going to go, and I have my personal feelings about him going back to WWE, but, he had a great match. It was really, really good. I hope that he can get what he didn't get the first time around WWE. And I do see him having a successful career there. But, that was great. The Stone Cold match was really, really fun. And night 1 was just great overall. The women put on tremendous matches.
Yeah.
So from top to bottom, I think night 1 was just so good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say out of the 2 women matches that you're talking about, obviously the Becky and Bianca Belair match was obviously the best one. Charlotte Rousey, that's like a completely different story in itself. In fact, I just don't understand why Charlotte is even champion, in the first place. But her match, I mean, don't get me wrong. When Rousey came back, obviously we all kind of knew that those 2 were going to face off. And I think originally when Rousey first appeared, many years ago, I think the original plans was to have her and Charlotte to highlight WrestleMania. I believe so.
Yeah, I think that was it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but they performed at night 1, and let's just say it did not live up to the hype whatsoever. It was very, very sloppy. It was kind of reminiscent to the triple threat match where they had it in MetLife Stadium with Becky Lynch. it just did not work for me. But on the other hand, the other women's match, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, like tremendous match that they put on. A fun fact: Bianca Belair, back-to-back times where she won the women's championship. Because last year was like the SmackDown Women's Championship against Banks, and now with Becky. So very, very happy about that. In terms of the Stone Cold and Kevin Owens segment, I thought that was so cool. Being the fact that I'm like, you're the more experienced wrestling fan than me, but like I've been like a wrestling fan since I was like 11, and I tried to like catch up. I kind of did my homework on someone like the wrestling legends and the WWF, and I would say that there are two legends that honestly I have to say is like my favorite, and it's Macho Man Randy Savage, hands down, and then obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin. Arguably like the greatest wrestler to have ever stepped foot in a ring, not just compete, but also like on the mic. Dude's absolutely phenomenal. I was surprised that he honestly did not look as bad as I thought it would be, because usually...
Looks great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like
great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like physically, he looks fantastic, but when he wrestled like KO, like I did not expect them to wrestle at all. I thought it was just going to be a one-off segment, but no, it was just like they actually fought like for what, 15 minutes, no holds barred match. It was absolutely crazy, and I mean Austin looked really, really good.
He took that bump on the concrete, which I couldn't believe. He looked great, and same thing. I think me and Rob were like, yeah, he's gonna come in, he's gonna stun Owens, and he's gonna drink some beer, and he's gonna leave. And
he did drink a lot of beer.
He drank a lot of beer.
Yeah,
he had a great match. It was really good to see Stone Cold like that. That is what he deserved. Going out to The Rock at WrestleMania 19, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
He was injured, he was hurt, and it wasn't his. This is what he deserved. He deserved to go out on a high note, and I've heard some rumors. Does he have another match left in him? Nope. Like let's end it here.
Yep.
Undertaker didn't get the message that he should have retired a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so Stone Cold, you did a great job. Thank you for this. Ride your horse away.
Yes.
This was really good.
Yes, thank you, Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was practically night 1, and now we're going to shift over to night 2.
Like night boo, am I right?
Yep, night boo. And for those who saw my my live coverage of night 2, obviously a lot happened, and a lot of pretty okay moments, a lot of crushable moments. I would say, like, the one that I kind of want to touch up on a little bit, and I feel like you kind of have to agree with me, probably the most ridiculous match, not only of the weekend, but also, like, probably, the weirdest match of all time that probably you and I have seen. Mostly you, because you've seen a lot of matches, but this one probably the most, like, what the fuck, and that was Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. I'm just gonna hand it over to you. Like, what were your thoughts on the match?
I hated it. Look, I did not get it, man. Look, I was reading a lot on Reddit, and people were like, "Oh, wrestling's supposed to be fun, etc." I'm like, "Yeah, wrestling's supposed to be fun, but this is too much."
Yeah.
I can believe, there is a dead man who rises from the grave and rides a motorcycle and all that stuff, but like, come on, you have the Mark Henry birthed hand hitting Sami Zayn. Like, it was just a ridiculous match.
Yeah.
And I personally didn't enjoy it. I thought
it was garbage. I thought
yeah.
I thought it was horrible. Like, you saw me and my friends' reactions. We were just like laughing our asses off to some of the questionable things, especially with the giant like mouse trap at the end. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. And like Wee Man slamming like Sami Zayn. That was just so I just don't.
Sami Zayn, one of the best wrestlers on your roster, and you have him lose to Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah. But anyways, from going from one okay match to like, another match that I would say we all just kind of saw it coming. That would be the main event between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, title versus title. Advertised the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, which you could probably agree with me. Definitely not. Definitely not by a long shot. Nope. That title has to go to Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. WrestleMania 3, I would have to say.
Yeah, I'm very impressed, Matt. I applaud you. That is top tier pick right there.
I've been doing my homework, and plus, you were the one who showed me the match in like high school. When we had that wrestling club.
Yeah. Aside from that, like I advertised the biggest match. So many. I mean, it was a terrible match, but like Hogan and Warrior definitely was a tremendous match back in the day. Rock and Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold. There are so many better big matches than that, I think.
It was a good match. I mean, like, it wasn't anything that too spectacular. I kind of felt like their very first encounter in WrestleMania 31 to me was honestly their best match ever, because that was when, not only Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank, but also that was when Suplex City was born. I was at that watch party when he actually said, Suplex City, bitch, and the whole place just went absolutely ecstatic. With the match itself, was not surprised that Roman won the match. Obviously, with the run that he has been on ever since he won the Universal title in the first place, he's like, the guy's been probably the best thing happening in the company right now.
Not close.
Yeah, and I would have to make an early prediction about this, and I want to hear what your thoughts about it. Obviously, it's been rumored for like months and months that The Rock would, come back for one more match, and it would be against Roman Reigns. I feel like I'm making a very, very early prediction for next year's WrestleMania, where we talked about him defending the title against like Cody. And while it could happen, I could definitely see it happening for like a match like SummerSlam. I do feel like he's either going to be WWE champion or Universal champion going into WrestleMania, and then they can do like what, a feud that was like lasting till like SummerSlam, when The Rock feuded with like Punk back in 2012, 2013. Or they could do it like way, way earlier than that, where he did it with like John Cena, advertise it for next year's WrestleMania, or like Royal Rumble. Just put the title on the line, and not only The Rock comes out on top, pins Roman Reigns for the title. It'll be his last time winning any title with the company, but he retires with the championship.
He retires as the champion?
Retires as the champion, and then the following year, and then the following WrestleMania event, he goes into the Hall of Fame.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Because honestly, he's too big of a name. I mean, when we talk about some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, obviously we talk about guys like Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, and obviously you cannot forget about The Rock. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think that would be, to me, that would be the most ideal way to end your wrestling career. I believe he mentioned before that he quietly retired, but I feel like with that kind of match, with that kind of storyline, I think it's hard for him, not to walk away from.
See, I go the other way. I think that's a great booking. Like, that's great fantasy booking. My fantasy booking is the other way, where it would be, you have the match with Rock and Roman. I think it's such a big match that you don't need a title for it. The match kind of advertises itself, and I can see it being like a bloodline match, or like a head of the table match, or a for the family match, or something along those lines, right? And The Rock, as you said, has had his time, and I think he'd do the job for Roman to keep Roman, because Roman still's got at least 10 years, but like he's got at least 5 years left in main event territory, right? Mm-hmm. So by beating The Rock, you just catapult him again, and maybe we can do something along the lines of like, he loses the title to Cody, right? Gets into this bloodline feud with The Rock, and then once he beats The Rock, he can be like, I'm done with that past, I want my title back. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
but what's good is what I like about WWE right now, which I haven't said in a long time, is we don't know where they're gonna go, which is great, right? Which is great. You know, you have Cody who's disrupting things, and hopefully something with The Rock and Roman. So I like that there's multiple ways that they can go.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely
Knowing them, they'll pick the worst.
yeah. They'll do the complete, like everything that you and I just said. They'll just do the complete opposite. But hey, I mean, it's really interesting, and obviously we have a long way to go, and hopefully, like crossing my fingers, like a Roman and Rock match would happen, and no matter what it's for, I could definitely see that Rock. I could definitely see that being like Rock's last ever match. But hey, we'll see what happens. And since we're on the topic of WrestleMania, since we have a little bit time left here for the first episode, I have to ask you because we talked a little bit about like WrestleManias and some like matches that we liked from the past. I want to ask you this first, being that you are the more experienced fan than I am. If you had to go back and think about what has to be your favorite WrestleMania or WrestleManias, what would they be and why?
So this is sort of like, this has nothing to do with card and how well the matches are, right? It's mainly nostalgia. So my favorite WrestleMania or WrestleManias are a lot of the earlier ones. So quickly, I'm thinking straight to WrestleMania, like 7, 8, or 9. And 9 is considered the worst WrestleMania of all time. Again, it has nothing to do with how bad that card was. It has to do with nostalgia. Like, I remember going into school and talking to my friends. I was in 5th grade or something like that. About, oh my God, did you see the WrestleMania? And we had like the WWF magazine, and those are like my favorite WrestleManias, mainly based on nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Just like being a little kid and being caught up in the fantasy of it, and just the awe and the spectacle of them wrestling. My favorite WrestleMania aside from that, probably, like if I'm thinking quick, it's gotta at least match. It's probably WrestleMania 11, Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Iron Man match. I was a big Shawn Michaels fan. I was always liked him since the Rockers, and just put on one of the best matches of all time, an hour plus, classic for the title, which Shawn won his first title. And I remember watching that with my friend. He's a big Bret Hart fan, and it was just great. So, a lot due to nostalgia, those early WrestleManias. Again, I am not excusing WrestleMania 9, that was hot garbage, but just nostalgia stuff.
Was WrestleMania 9 the one where what was his name? Bret Hart was in the main event. He lost the title to Yokozuna, I believe.
Sure was, in which he lost it to Hulk
Hogan.
Seconds later.
Yep.
It was awful.
No, I could. Yeah, I can imagine back then. It used to be like very, very big at the time. There are 3 WrestleManias that kind of speak out to me at the moment, and that has to be WrestleManias 17, 21, and 28. 17 was the one where they were in, I believe they were in Texas, like Dallas or Austin, Texas, I believe, and that was when Stone Cold turned heel on The Rock. Vince McMahon came in and no disqualification, and that was also when they had practically one of the most greatest moments of WrestleMania where Edge speared Jeff Hardy like on top of the ladder. Right. That was just absolutely pretty insane. And when you just kind of look like from card to card, like there wasn't like any bad match. Like there was hardly a bad match like on the card, and it was like very, very memorable. Especially when like also, and that was like when Kane at the time won like the hardcore title against like Big Show and like Raven or something like that. It was absolutely crazy. And then 21 was where it was Edge and Mick Foley in that like no holds barred match for Edge again with Edge like spearing Mick Foley through the table on fire. And then obviously with Rey Mysterio winning the world title following the passing of Eddie Guerrero, it was a very, very great moment. And then WrestleMania 28. Now, obviously, WrestleMania 28, it was when the once-in-a-lifetime match between The Rock and John Cena. Obviously, when looking at the card, it was pretty mediocre at best. I would say it was 50-50. Like when you look at some of the matches on there, it was like, oh, Sheamus won the world title in 18 seconds against Daniel Bryan. Or that like huge like match between like Team Theodore Long and Team like John Laurinaitis, or even the end of the era match between Triple H and Undertaker. Personally, for me, like top 3 matches of all time, because it was like it was my very first time watching not only WrestleMania but also like Hell in a Cell in general, and just the fact that those two guys went on for like almost an hour was just absolutely insane. A lot of like near falls here and there. Shawn Michaels, interfering in the match, pretty crazy. And then obviously Cena and The Rock. I mean, you cannot forget about that match. I mean, the year-long hype was absolutely incredible. But those were like my top 3 favorites. And if I had to narrow it down to one, I would honestly I would have to say like WrestleMania 17. Honestly, is like personally my favorite WrestleMania. So guys, that is your very first video on DPad Wrestling here on YouTube. Rick, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and to share, and go to the comments section on any future recommendations that you want to see. And don't forget to Stone Cold Stunner that subscribe button, and to follow us on Instagram. Link is in the description box below. I am Matt Piscioni. He is Rick freaking Caceres, and we will see you all next time. And that's the bottom line, because DPad Wrestling said so.